Tuesday, everyone. I hope everyone is okay and is having a pretty decent day up to this point whenever you're watching this video. I'm not live streaming at this moment only because I'm trying to play catch up and my live streams tend to go pretty long. So I have a few videos that I had in the backlog that I want to get done. This being one of them. I don't typically do Trump live videos, but I'm going to do it on this one because I think there's more gravity to this particular live. I'm trying to stop saying but to this particular live. I think the first big thing, if you think of Donald Trump's campaign promises, the first big one was, I'm going to build a wall. That's Donald Trump's thing. I'm going to build a wall. Everybody knows it. Donald Trump is going to build a wall. Mexico is going to pay for the wall that Donald Trump is going to get built. The second thing, though, close behind that has to be, I am not like the other Republicans. I am not going to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. I am not going to do it. I'm going to protect it. He even went so far as to attack the other Republicans, saying that they're going to cut those services. I am not. I will protect them. Donald Trump went from pillar to post, from one end of the country to the other end of the country, glad-handing one person after the next, after the next, after the next, from city to city to city to city, telling them, each and every one of them, I am going to protect Social Security. Me, the big, loud Donald Trump, I am going to protect Social Security. I am your alpha male, and I will protect it, not like the other Republicans. He even going so far as to say Hillary Clinton is going to cut Social Security. That might have been true. Just trying to make a very particular point. I had to, and many lefties had to, deal with this thing of going with Obama, believing in this idea of hope and change, and that he was fully under constraint, and he was, the president was the weakest man on the planet. And making one excuse after the next. At some point, you have to be like, all right, I need to come to Jesus. And I am just making a very particular point here. This is not a minor pledge. This is a very big deal. The overwhelming majority of the public is for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and don't want people changing it. If anything, they want those services expanded. So if Donald Trump is looking the country in the face and is saying, I am not going to do that, I am not going to cut those services, I'm not like the other Republicans. And if he turns around and cuts those services, or at the very least shows an intent of wanting to cut those services, shouldn't that make you think the particular way about Donald Trump? This is not a casual lie. This is an extraordinary lie. And don't take my word for it. Take Donald Trump's word for it. Let's hear Donald Trump himself, the man himself.
Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it. Get rid of the fraud, get rid of the waste and abuse, but save it. People have been paying in for years, and now many of these candidates want to cut it. You save it by making the United States, by making us rich again, by taking back all of the money that's being lost. I'll save Social Security. I'll save Medicare. Ben Carson wants to get rid of Medicare. You can't get rid of Medicare. Medicare is a program that works. There's fraud, there's abuse, there's waste, but you don't get rid of Medicare. You can't do that. People love Medicare, and it's unfair to them. I'm going to fix it, make it better, but I'm not going to cut it. I will get rid of the fraud, the waste, the abuse, all of the problems, but we will have Medicare. But we're not going to hurt the people who've been paying into Social Security their whole life, and then all of a sudden they're supposed to get less. Every Republican wants to do a big number on Social Security. They want to do it on Medicare. They want to do it on Medicaid. And we can't do that. And it's not fair to the people that have been paying in for years, and now all of a sudden they want to be cut. And it's my absolute intention to leave Social Security the way it is, not increase the age, and to leave it as is. You have 22 years. You have a long time to go. It's not long in terms of what we're talking about, but it's still a long time to go. And I want to leave Social Security as is. Clinton admitted that she wants to cut Medicare and Social Security. Hillary Clinton is...
Do you hear that? He's to a Republican audience, and he's saying Hillary Clinton wants to cut Medicare and Social Security. I am not. That should bug you. Of all the campaign pledges, I hoped when he got elected that this would be the one that he keeps. The only expectation I had for Donald Trump when he got elected was for Donald Trump to be a Republican. He knows nothing about politics. Ultimately, Donald Trump is a businessman. You can arguably not necessarily the most successful businessman. Maybe you could say, depends on how you see bankruptcy. But he's not a politician. And so anything from his day-to-day and his standpoint of presidenting, as George Bush will say it, is going to be fed to him. It's going to be people who are around him, who are whispering in his ear, who's telling him what he should think, the line that he should toe, the constituencies that he need to appease. Like, these are not necessarily things that he would understand. All things being equal, I suspect Donald Trump will be playing Xbox all day. And somebody else will be doing most of the labor. And these press announcements come out. Every so often he may show a certain amount of agency. I want to get the troops out of Syria, that type of stuff. But the expectation of him was to just go along with Republican dogma, and that's for the most part what he's done. But on this one, for all the people who are going to be affected, the millions of human beings that are going to be adversely affected, this one, I hoped he wouldn't lie about. And I just hoped he wouldn't lie about it. I didn't have any, I assumed that he was going to go after him. So this is Vox. Vox goes into the numbers, into Trump's budget, into the degree to which he's cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I've done this video once before, and I realized that the numbers stuck the video. It slows it down. So I'm just going to go for a basic understanding of it, where you can get the grasp of it, and put the documents below. So right here. Over the next 10 years, Trump's 2020 budget proposal aims to spend $1.5 trillion less on Medicaid, instead allocating $1.2 trillion in a block grant program to states, $25 billion less on Social Security, and $845 billion less on Medicare. Some of that is reclassified to a different department. Their intentions are to cut benefits under Medicaid and Social Security. The impact on Medicare is a bit more complicated, which we'll get to later. So let's go into the numbers partially. The 2020 budget's Medicaid reforms include adding work requirements and repealing Medicaid expansion, one of the most successful policies under the Affordable Care Act. Medicaid expansion reduced the uninsured rate by more than 6% in states that enacted the policy. It continues to show better results and outcomes and is popular in conservative states. But Trump is envisioning changing Medicaid altogether. His budget proposes transforming the current pay-as-needed system to block grants, where states are given a capped lump sum fund that doesn't grow with increased need or rising costs. The budget proposes $1.2 trillion market-based healthcare grant. Understand what that means. The states get a fixed amount, not necessarily an amount that grows with what's needed. It's not what's needed. You got to figure out how to make ends meet with the amount that we gave you. It's how do you think they're going to deal with this? They're going to deal with this by cutting services. People are going to get less access to healthcare. Let's keep going. The budget continues to attack Social Security, including a program that gives assistance to those with disabilities and preventing them from being in the workforce. In all, the cuts to Social Security amount to $25 billion over the next 10 years, cutting roughly $10 billion from Social Security Disability Insurance Program, which the administration says will be found through cutting on fraud. Yeah, it's always fraud. There's $25 billion worth of fraud. And here is, let's see, this part. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, which advocates for the fiscal responsibility, estimates that 85% of the cuts will come from reductions in provider payments, meaning the people who get paid, hospitals, 85% of the reductions will come from provider payments. 5% will come from policies around medical malpractice. 11% will come from reducing drug costs through the Medicare D program. Medicare Part D is the only of the areas that could raise out-of-pocket drug costs for some while lowering it for others. Unsurprising, of course, the hospitals are completely against it. Let's see. Here's what's actually happening. The budget proposes finding $845 billion in savings over the next 10 years from Medicare as we know it. But $269 billion of the figure is reclassified under the Department of Health and Human Services, bringing the Medicare cuts to $575 billion. As Vox explained, the administration says it will achieve cost reductions by targeting wasteful spending and provider payments and lowering prescription drug costs. My point is this. Trump lied. Trump outright lied. This wasn't a throwaway lie. This wasn't a passable lie. This wasn't, oh, he meant something. No, he said one thing and he did something else. You don't, in fact, one of the people who I can even make the point that he lied even that much more, Mulvaney, Trump's budget director. Mulvaney tells Politico, brags to Politico, that he tricked Trump into cutting Social Security. Now, it was SSDI. It was the Social Security disability insurance. It was the insurance that I just mentioned before. People who are ill and get disability for that illness, meaning they can't go into the workforce, so they get assistance from the government. He brags that he tricked Trump. Trump didn't understand what the stuff was. Again, he's a reality show host. And Mulvaney was able to slide in one of the ideas that he had for cutting benefits. Trump went with it. It is in the budget that we have today from Trump, or the very least budget that's being proposed by Trump. So, however you reconcile that, just be very clear. Trump lied. Lefties had to have their come to Jesus moment. Please have yours. At the very least before 2020. Thanks all.